Alright, what's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another episode of Becoming Dangerous with Excel, and we've got some formatting that we're going to be going over today. So we can see here that we've got another table, our same table that we had from a few videos ago with our exotic car dealership. And we can see that our table has some formatting that was already done to it. We've got some borders, certain things are highlighted, some filters here. And this column is highlighted based off of the numerical data. So we're going to clear this out, and we're going to start off with a new table and see how we came to get this information set up like it is. Okay, so now that our table is down to its base form, we can start to kind of play with it and get back to where we were before. So first off, what we're going to talk about is borders. Now, borders are pretty straightforward. So you've got this right here with your little drop down, and it gives you lots of different border items. So one thing that we can do is we can put just a underlined border along our headers up here. And something else that you see a lot of is, say we have our total profits here, which we can quickly calculate. And what we can do is we can come and set up a bottom border here to kind of separate our values here. And we can do a lot of different things with this. We can come and also put like a double or a thick bottom border here, so it's a little bit thicker. You can do different things like that, kind of customize how you want to do things. But there's also even more things you can do here if you come into more borders. This kind of gives you the option to do lots of different things. So we can pick the style of our border. We can choose where we want it to actually be. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this entire table and then kind of play around with this a little bit. So what we can do is, you see how it has our like a picture of our table here. And what we can do is we can just click on this, and then it'll add those borders in for us. See how I only click two sides there? It's going to put a border around our two sides. And then what we can do is, let's go back into our border selection. And what I like to do for something like this, like if I'm going to go ahead and separate everything, then what we can do is we can click into these and have everything separated. What you can also do is, to make everything easy, let's clear those out. We can do an outline and then the inside as well, and you can see how everything updates for us. Click OK, and now we have borders around everything. Okay, so that was borders, and just so y'all are aware, this is a very basic introductory course about how everything in Excel works. So we're going through some basic things just to get you up to date with how Excel works, where you can find certain things, and you really only need to know a few different things that we're going through in these videos to really become good at Excel. Just a few of these things will put you above and beyond a lot of the Excel users out there, trust me. But going on now, so now our next topic is going to be the merge and center. So for whatever reason, merge and center gets a bad rap, but we're going to go ahead and use it here. And we're going to say that this is our exotic cars, and we're going to merge and center this cell. So see, now this is all, this was many cells, and with the merge, we merged all these cells together and centered it. Not rocket science, but just know that, if you come and make this a bit bigger, then it's only centered from left to right. It's not centered top to bottom. So you will have to come here and, center that top to bottom if you want it really within that in that area. And we can also come here and adjust our font to do different things. This is just making our table look a little bit better. And one other thing that we can do is we can merge and center from the side as well. So I'm just going to say make for this, and you can see again, like we saw with the exotic cars up top up here, that it only centers from left to right, not top to bottom. And we're going to go ahead and center that top to bottom as well. So that was a quick overview on merge and center. It comes in pretty useful for certain applications, something like this where you want to have a title above your entire table. But yeah, just a pretty general application of Merge and Center. Okay, so now that we've covered Merge and Center, let's go ahead and get rid of some of these. We don't want to see that anymore. Okay, so now that we've got a good idea of how Merge and Center works, that was pretty straightforward. We're going to go over into conditional formatting. And I particularly like conditional formatting because it really shows you information within your data set that may not stand out to you right away. And we're going to show a quick example of how that can work. So, of course, we have our car dealership, and we want to be profitable. So we can see at a glance that some of these cars are more profitable per sale than others. See, we've got a $224,000 profit. This one's at a $58,000 profit. So we've got a pretty wide swing here. And, it's kind of easy for us to see this just looking at it with this smaller table. But if we've got larger data sets, then that's going to be a little bit harder for us to go ahead and identify something like that. So what we can do is we can conditionally format this to show us certain things. And where you can find that is, we're still in the Home tab. We're going to go to Conditional Formatting. And you see how it gives us this list of different things that we can do. And something that I like to use is the color scales. This gives us an already formatted color scale, just different templates for us to use. And for something like what we have going, we want to see the higher numbers in green, the kind of mid-range numbers in yellow, and then the lower numbers in red, since we are looking at profit per car sale. So we can go ahead and click that, and you can see how it's giving us, we had 341,000 in profit on these cars, the Ferrari SF90 Spider. And see, I thought just looking at a glance that we had the most profit on our Aston Martin here. And also, I saw this 58,000 on the low end. We had this 14,000 profit on this McLaren. So even just this smaller data set, I was able to pick out. I wasn't able to accurately pick out things just by looking at it. So that was one example of conditional formatting, and we can see that this format, like the name says, is conditional. So if we do certain things to these numbers, then our formatting is going to change based off of those conditions as well. So let's look at, we see we had this $14,000 profit per sale on our McLaren. Let's say that, maybe we had a lot higher. Let's say 250,000 was our sold price. See how our formatting changes based off of our conditions that were set. So, something that was in the red before now is somewhat mid-range compared to the rest of our data set. So we're going to go ahead and undo that. And let's see, we can do one other example. Let's say, there's a lot of different things within conditional formatting. So what we can say is that we only want to, you see how there's all these different things that you can do with conditional formatting. But let's just say we only want to see cells that are greater than, let's say, 85,000. Oops. 85,000. And, there's all these different types of things. And we could also do a custom format. So let's say we just want to see green fill with dark green text. That's nice. So see how it shows us everything within the conditions that we set is now light green background with a dark green text. And these are all for things that were over $85,000 in profit. So there are a few things that you can do with this. And like I said, you can go ahead and play around with these. There's data bars, there's all different types of things. This is just an introductory to kind of get you going in Excel. So now that we have a general overview of how conditional formatting works, we're going to go over now into freeze panes. So what is freeze panes and why will we use it? So what freeze panes does is, say like we start scrolling down and we're missing a lot of like our headers and things like that, and we're just seeing data. We may not even know what some of that data is. Like, see, for something like this, if I'm just looking at this, like, what does this mean? So what we can do is we can freeze this top pane up here, so where when I scroll down, we can still see these headers. Similar to this on this side, like our course topics with all our course topics here. If I scroll to the right, See how I'm cutting those off, but I still want to see them. So what we can do is we can freeze these so that they don't go away. And how Excel does this is you have, let's see, now we're in the View tab in Freeze Panes here. And there's three different selections. We have Freeze Panes, which is based off of your current selection. You can choose just to freeze the top row, or you can just choose to freeze that first column, which is column A. I like to do based off of the current selection. So the current selection works by, it takes the cell that you're currently in and it freezes everything to the left and to the top of that cell. So say right now we're in this section here. So everything over to the left, all this entire column, as well as this entire row is going to freeze in place, and we're going to be able to see everything as we scroll up and down and right to the left. So we're going to go ahead and click on Freeze Panes, and you see how it gives us these lines here. It means that they're frozen, and see as I'm scrolling down, I can still see make, model, quantity. I can still see course topics that is up here on top of our topics list, as well as if I scroll to the right, I can still see our course topics even as I'm scrolling. And you know, if I'm scrolling down some, you know, I can still see those panes that are frozen in place. So those work really well whenever you have larger data sets and you want to always be able to see certain headers as well as certain columns that are off to the left there. And then say we want to go back to normal, all we have to do is go back to our View tab and then unfreeze panes. Okay, so the next topic we have is grouping, and this is something that I find myself using more and more lately, especially with larger data sets. And for something like this, it would be very easy to use some grouping in here, but I'm just going to give a general overview of how grouping works. So let's say we have all of our course topics here, but we don't want to see all of this at the same time. What we can do is we can group these, and you know, it's going to just watch how we're going to do this. So we go to the data tab and then group, and you can see how it gives us this line coming down here, and it's showing us that, you know, it starts at the 2 row and comes down to the 10. So what that actually does is if we press this minus sign, it groups all of this into one cell basically, and just hides all of this information, and it just gives us our total profit per sale. But you know, there's many layers that you can add to this. So let's say I want to group these together. We can go ahead and put another one in there, and then I could only group those items. You know, and if you want to do it like this as well, if you press 3, everything gets ungrouped. And if you press 1, everything gets grouped together. Go to 2, then it shows us that that selection. But you know, that's an easy way to navigate through this grouping. And this comes in handy, say like for this data set that we're working with right now. If I wanted to have just a line for Lamborghini, I could have the Huracan and the Aventador underneath the Lamborghini as like a subset. Same thing for Ferrari, have the 2 spiders underneath it, and then you could group those in order to, you know, hide them. So you just want to see the Lamborghini sales and you just want to see the Ferrari sales. You don't really care about the models yet. That's when it really comes in handy. And then to get rid of this, all you've got to do is highlight your data that's grouped and come over here again, still under the data tab, and press ungroup and ungroup again, and it gets rid of those groupings for us. Okay, so now that we have an idea of how grouping works, we're going to jump into our next topic. I know it says text to columns is coming up next, but we're actually going to go to the sort, filter, find, and replace. We're going to talk about sort and filter first. Those are kind of similar, and then we're going to go over into find and replace. So for sort, let's say, you know, we're working with a larger data set and we want to sort certain things. So say like this data set, we want to see the highest profit per sale, and then in descending order. So what we can do is, so you click somewhere inside of your data table and then go into the data tab and then filter, and you see here how now it populates these little arrows going all over the place in our headers. what we can do is we can let's talk about filtering this first. So you see how it gives us all the unique values that are part of this column, and of course we have duplicates of each, but let's say we only want to see the McLarens and the Ferraris. We can click on those two to have those boxes checkmarked, click on OK, and then it only shows us Ferrari and McLaren. We can go ahead and select all so that we see all again, and just like that, we're seeing all of our data again. And similarly for sort, if we want to see the highest profit per sale over here, we can click on that down arrow, and you see how it says sort smallest to largest or sort largest to smallest. We want to see the largest on top, and then it puts us our Ferrari 90 Spider up here with the highest profit per sale. So there are a few other things that you can do with that. Of course, you can do the smallest. So see that this McLaren is the smallest profit per sale that we have in our data set. And you can do other things as well. So you could filter by color. So if you want to find the different colors, let's say just that color, then that's something that may or may not come in handy for you, but that is an option as well. We want to select all again and have all of that back. Okay, so that's quickly how the sort and filter works. You can kind of play around with this because there are other options here, like number filters. You can pick a variety of different things, or you could even have your own custom filter. So what we're going to go into now is let's get rid of this. We don't want to see this anymore. Let's get rid of our filter. Another quick way to do this, and I like this way better, is to make this into a table. So what you do is you click inside of the data set again like we have here, and then you press Control T. And then that pops up this little box. You can see how it's thinking like, hey, this is your table, and then it pops up this dialog box here, where's the data for your table, and then it has the data array listed here, and then you have the checkbox that says my table has headers. If you unclick that, then it won't include that. Well, it'll include that as part of your data, and we don't want that. We want that to be headers. And we click OK, and you can see how it populates. Well, not populate, but it puts these alternating colors in here for us, and then it also pops up another tab here that says table design now, and we can pick a variety of different things to make our table look a little bit better. I had this one from the start, so we'll go back with that one, and you can see we still have our conditional formatting here as well. So that's a quick way to make this into a table and not go into the filter. So if you come up here and click on the filter, but a good thing that I like about using the Control T to make this table is that the table automatically comes down as you add in more information, whereas it wouldn't do that before. So let's say if we wanted to add another audience here, the data table already comes down for us and gives us more rows that we can put information in. So let's say we want another Ferrari in here as well, and it populates down for us. So that's a really neat feature that I like as part of using this as a table instead of just a range of cells. And if we want to make this back into a range, we right click, come down to table, and then press convert to range. It's going to ask us if we want to convert it to a normal range. We can say yeah, and then we no longer have that feature of Excel coming down for us. Oh, it does, but not as part of an entire table. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of these. We don't want these anymore, and we'll delete them, shift the cells up. Okay, let's make this back into a table just because I like it that way. Okay, now for the find and replace. So sometimes you may have some data in here that was inputted incorrectly. Let's say that everything that says Ferrari is actually supposed to say Ford. I know it doesn't, but let's just say that. What we can do is we can press Control F, and then it pops this little pop-up for us, and it's asking us what we want to find. Let's say we want to find Ferrari. Click Enter, and then it'll show you, as you click Enter, it'll pop to the two Ferrari selections. And we can choose to search for this within just the sheet, or if we want to click down, we can search the entire workbook for Ferrari. And let's go ahead and do that. It's going to pop to, see how we can press find all here, and it'll show us all the instances that Ferrari comes up. And we can see that right now we're in the formatting sheet, so it's showing sheet formatting. But there's also 2 examples of Ferrari in these cells under the math sheet, like we were working on in our first video. And there are other things that you can do with this as well. You can search by rows, you can search by columns, and you can look in formulas, all these different types of options for us. We can match case, you could have the match the entire cell contents, but sometimes, let's say if we want to, maybe we don't know the entire word, and we click on, we press enter from there. Oh, it's popping to, let's pop that back to our sheet and jump back to formatting. Press enter, and it gives us our 2 Ferrari. But see how I haven't typed in the entire word? Even if you don't have the entire value typed in, it'll still pop to it unless you go ahead and press match entire cell contents. Now it'll say, nope, couldn't find what you're looking for, and it shouldn't. Okay, so now that we know how that works, let's jump into the replace. And this is kind of what I was getting at right before we started doing find. So what we can do is we can actually find something and then replace it with something else. So let's say, we accidentally typed in Ferrari here. We want it to be Ford instead. Of course, it isn't, but let's just say that we did. So we'll type in Ferrari there, replace it with Ford, and you can press to replace just that one selection. Oh, because I still have exact match. Okay, we can replace just that. Oh, because I don't have Ferrari. Okay, now it's finding those 2 Ferrari options, but we can come down and replace it. You see how it replaced that one, but let's go back. Let's press Control Z. All right, so now we got Ferrari back to where it was, and what we can do is we can replace both of them at the same time and not even. So let's come down here and say Ferrari a couple more times. Ferrari. And come back to Control F, replace, and we want to find all the instances where Ferrari's up here and replace it with Ford. And we can replace one, or we can replace all of them. If we replace all of them, see how it tells you we replaced all done. We made 5 replacements. So that works especially well if you've got larger data sets and you accidentally type something in, or maybe something changed within your data and say, oh man, I need to go back and change all of these things. No, you don't have to change them one by one. You can use the find and replace to make those changes for you very quickly. Okay, so let's get rid of those. We're going to Control Z, undo all of this. Okay, now that that's all done, that concludes up the find and replace content topic, and we're going to go into the currency and percent now. So these are all currencies. These are costs, these are prices, and our profits. So we want this to be in dollar signs. So let's go ahead and highlight all of our info right here, and what we can do is we're in the home tab, and we come down, see this drop down, and we could pick a number of different things in here. But what we want for this is currency. So it'll show up currency, and with our dollar sign, it's taking up a lot of room in our cells. So I'm going to give us a little bit more width. I didn't really need that one. But yeah, so now you can see it shows up this dollar sign and tells us, hey, this is a actual currency. But we can do the accounting as well. It just moves the dollar sign all the way to the left-hand side and kind of adjusts our information a little bit. We're going to pop that back into our regular currency. Okay, so that's how we format our numbers. So there's multiple different options right here. Of course, you can see this list here, but we want currency for that. And so now for a percentage example, what we want to see is we want to know what percentage of our cars are this model McLaren, which percentage is, or what percentage is this model Lamborghini. So what we can do is we can come over here and type in inventory, Tory percentage, and see how our formatting populates over because we have this set up as a table. That's part of the reason why I like tables. Okay, so let's say we need the total of all the cars that we have, 158 total cars, and then we want the percentage, so we can say the quantity divided by the total, and that gives us a, well, now see, it gives us this this wonky number, and that's the right number, but it's not set up in a percentage. So what we can do is we're still in the home tab, and you see the percentage sign right here. You can click on that, and it gives us the percentages of everything. So 9% of our inventory is this McLaren 540C, 11% is this Lamborghini Aventador, and so on. We can make sure that this is right. Let's highlight these, and we can see that our sum is at 100%. So that is correct. Okay, and for the last lesson, or the last topic, is lists. I like lists for a number of reasons, but I'm just going to demonstrate on how lists work. So let's say that we have a list of these. Well, first off, let's see unique. We can see what our unique values are here. And these are the different types of cars that we have, the different makes that we have. So let's say that we want all these in a list. First off, I don't know if this is going to translate well, so let's copy and let's special paste just the values here, because you can see I'm clicking on this and it's telling me unique, so it's not the actual values. So what we want to do is copy and paste the actual values just to make sure that we're working with a good data set. So now that we have these values here, let's go ahead and make a list out of it. So what you'll do is you'll come up into data again and data validation here, and then it'll pop up this little pop-up box, and then it says allow, and right now it's set to any value, but we want to set it as a list. And then you can click or you can choose the source of your list. So let's say my source is this. So it'll populate the cell information there, and then press OK. You see how it has this little drop down. Now everything is in this nice little list for you, and you can click and choose whichever make that you want. Yep, so that's how lists work, and we did cover a good bit of information today. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm really happy that you stayed this long. And next time we'll be covering more text to columns. Well, not more, but we will be covering the text to columns that we skipped over today, and we'll also be covering cleaning and filtering data. We won't be going through all of these, but a few of them are very helpful, and you can see that we used a couple today. We actually used unique just a second ago, but there are some other ones in here that are really useful. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.